Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. The game starts with everybody sleeping. All the dragons and the characters from Spyro 2, which are now apparently living with the dragons, they're all sleeping, just taking a nap. It's during the middle of the day, but just taking a nap. Everybody needs some rest sometimes. And then this character called Bianca shows up with a bunch of rhinos, which are just rhinos, but they need to have unique names because it's a game. And they steal all the dragon eggs from you. Apparently, she's pretty stupid, because she's planned this whole thing out, but she steps on Hunter's tail. And of course, that causes everybody to wake up, and they try to chase her down, but she manages to escape through a hole in the ground. She's not actually the one wanting the dragon eggs though, she's working for a queen, kind of. It's a sorceress, but she really looks like a queen to me. And they operate from some underground kind of realm. And of course Spyro is a small dragon and all the big dragons can't fit through the ground hole, so Spyro has to go through it and save the day again. Somehow Hunter does also pass through it though, so makes sense, yeah, sure. And this game has actually way more story than the first two games. The first game especially didn't have much in the way of story, and the second game did have a little bit more, but not as much as this game. This game is way more narratively driven than anything that came before, and I think that is a good improvement. It's not too much, but it still gives you a little bit more reason to just keep on playing, and it involves you in the game just a little bit much more. The game itself actually runs on the same engine that Spyro 2 does, and you can immediately tell it feels exactly like Spyro 2, but with just some new levels. And that's a good thing, because Spyro 2 played very, very well. It definitely didn't need much in the way of improvement, so just using the same engine makes sense. I'm happy with that. And something I'm even more happy with is that you actually start with all the abilities you unlocked in Spyro 2 already unlocked, but making this game actually very versatile and very fun to get into right away. One of the biggest differences though between Spyro 2 and this game is that in Spyro 2, every enemy dropped these light orbs when you killed them instead of gems like they did in Spyro 1. Now in Spyro 3, we're going back to enemies dropping gems, so in order to get all the gems in the stage, you actually need to murder every single enemy. And other than that, this game is mostly pretty similar to Spyro 2. There's no orbs in this game because you're collecting dragon eggs, and there's a lot more dragon eggs than there is orbs. The biggest difference between dragon eggs and orbs though is pretty much that these dragons have names. And you would think that there being way more dragon eggs than there were orbs, that means there's a lot more minigames and missions you have to do. Not exactly, it just means that there's more dragon eggs scattered around laying in the stages. Which honestly, I'm fine with that. Like, you probably use it as a couple of overworlds which then have a lot of portals in them, and those portals lead to levels which are in and of itself pretty open world. In contrast to the last game though, these aren't as open world, they're more linear and they loop back around to the start of the stage when you finish them, making them more of a circle than an actual open world. Definitely does feel more linear than Spyro 2. And of course every single world has a speedway like we've gotten used to by now. But this time around, the speedway doesn't just have speedway. That is now called time attack, and there's also new challenges in these speedways, like racing for instance, which is actually fairly difficult, and they both reward you with just one single egg, but they're pretty fun. Even though the racing is pretty difficult, it is satisfying to get down. You need to learn the course, and when you have learned the course, it actually becomes fairly easy to get into first place just after the first lap or so, and then just keeping in first place isn't that difficult. So this is mainly based on skill and not on some kind of like engine bullshit. Just memorizing the course. I love it. Unlike in Ripto's Rage though, or Gateway to Glimmer, depending on where you live, there's 4 hub worlds in this one instead of 3, meaning that yes, there's a shit ton more levels in general as well. Honestly, I would have preferred a little fewer levels and like more development focus on those levels to make them more complete and more fun to play, because most of these levels don't feel very polished. Anyway, you start in Sunrise Spring, then go on to Midday Gardens, then go on to Evening Lake, and end up in Midnight Mountain. As you can tell, they're named after times of day. In Ripto's Rage, you had the seasons, and in this game, you've got times of day. It's a little fun theme they've got going on. I'm fine with that. Honestly, the designs and just look and feel of these 4 hub worlds is by far the best out of any Spyro game. So far I've been very positive about this game, and it does deserve it. It's a pretty fucking good game. But I do want to complain a little bit. And with a little bit I mean like I am very, very annoyed about the fact that there's a shit ton of extra characters you can play as. Because just like there being so many levels and none of them being very polished, there being so many characters, the gameplay and the development just got scattered around, I feel, and it wasn't focused on making what is there good. So everything is passable at best, but not good. You have to buy all of these extra characters from money bags. Yes, Moneybags is back. We'll get to that a little bit later on. He's a lot more apparent in this game than he was in the last. The first character you buy is Sheila, which has a double jump and is a kangaroo, and that's pretty much everything you need to know about it. It really controls kind of similar still to Spyro without flying, of course. This is probably my least hated, mind you, I'm not saying favorite, I'm saying least hated extra character in this game. Except for maybe one which you could argue is or isn't an actual extra character. We'll get to that when we get to that. Anyway, after completing a couple of levels, you get into a cutscene. Like I said, there's way more story in this game. And you see this Bianca character is actually not as powerful as you first would think she is. And Hunter is developing a crush on her. That can't go well.
Say, is it just me? Or is she kinda cute when she's angry?
Shortly after, you get into the first boss fight, which is decent, but it takes way too many hits without really changing his patterns enough. So he's mostly boring and tedious, and I like the idea behind it, but having him have like 4 hits or more different patterns and more different attacks would have been nice. I did die quite a number of times against him though, so maybe I'm just bad. We are now in a new world, and right away we find money bags and we unlock Sergeant Bird, which controls very slowly, very slippery, and he can fly, which makes him even more slippery, but he's got one redeeming factor: he's got rockets. Don't judge me. We also see Bianca practicing some more magic, and Hunter just loves it, which is kinda weird, and maybe a little bit awkward. And she gets eaten by the creature she summons, which sets up a really good way for Hunter to save her and develop that relationship. We can all see where this is going, can't we? And other than that, nothing really notable happens in this whole second world. So let's go to the second boss, which generally speaking just is absurdly difficult compared to anything else in this game. I don't know why they made it this way, but you would think playtesters would have complained about this. Going to the third world, you're quite a way into the game now, and Bianca seems to actually start to care about you and not want you to get hurt, so she wants you to leave. Or does she not want Hunter to get hurt? Eh? Eh? Yeah, this is actually happening, isn't it? So let's go find money bags and unlock Bentley the Addy, which... this is actually also a decent character. He's very, very slow, but he can crush things with his, like, big club made of ice. Makes no sense, but it works. Don't complain. At least this one isn't Sergeant Bird. This one actually has something interesting going for it, because in the level Frozen Altars you don't have fire breath, and you might be thinking, well, what's good about that? Because you can't attack, and that's not exactly true, because your fire breath gets replaced by ice breath, making you able to freeze enemies, which is a really nice change of pace, and I really do like that. After which Hunter gets captured by Bianca, and the romance is developing, and it's still kind of weird and random. But it does seem like Bianca and the sorcerers aren't actually evil and are trying to save the world, because they need the dragon eggs to return the magic to this world, because thousands of years ago dragons lived where we're playing right now, and then they left, taking all the magic with them, and to survive they need the magic of the dragon, so they stole the dragon eggs. That illusion lasts for an entire 5 seconds, because then Bianca talks to the sorcerers and they're like, no, I just want their wings so I can live forever. And Bianca's like, are you gonna kill them? And the sorcerer says, I don't know. I don't have to. but I kinda want to because I'm evil. This sets Bianca off to betray the sorceress and free Hunter and go help Spyro. And she turns into a good guy now. Yay, we're gonna see more of her in future games. And her weird romance with Hunter. That's pretty much the reason that was set up, right? For her to have more reason to betray. Still kinda weird. Still don't really like it. Going into the last world, we unlock Agent 9 the Monkey, which is a third-person shooter kind of gameplay, and this one actually is very, very horrible. I actually want to die just thinking about playing that again. So far you've needed to complete every single level in a world except Speedway to move on to the boss fight. And those levels will unlock getting a certain amount of eggs, but in this world, seeing as how it's the last, you don't actually need to play every single one if you don't want to. You just need to have 100 eggs, and the game in total has 150. Well, 149 because the 150th is in the 100% bonus level. Which, by the way, I couldn't be bothered to get 149 eggs and 15,000 gems, so I didn't go to that stage, because that didn't sound like fun. So once you get those 100 eggs, that's very doable, you get to fight the final boss, which is damaged by cannons. First with stationary ones, which is not a lot of fun. Then with ones you can ride, which actually starting to enjoy this. And then lastly by flying ones, which that's actually very, very cool. But she's not dead. I would imagine that if you get the 100% ending she actually dies. Don't know, because I didn't bother going for that, but it's predictable, right? And the ending cutscene actually has a very nice homage to the first game where Spyro was getting interviewed. And then Spyro goes off to find Hunter and finds out he's actually dating Bianca now. The dialogue of these ending cutscenes really makes it obvious that you still have to go get the other dragon eggs, so I'm pretty sure that if you get all the dragon eggs you get a way different ending, but again, I couldn't be bothered. Don't shoot me. I just don't think this game is worth that. You can probably tell that I am kind of two minds about this game. On one hand side I really like it because it's Spyro 2, but more of that. On the other hand side they changed a couple of things which make it less amazing than Spyro 2. But one thing that redeems this entire game is that after defeating the final boss, going back to Midnight Mountains, you run into Moneybags, which says he doesn't need to sell you any more things because he's found a dragon egg and he's gonna sell it for a fortune back in Avalon. And you've had enough. You can actually chase down and attack Moneybags, getting every single gem you gave him throughout the entire game back, and also getting the dragon egg. And this is so goddamn satisfying. You get back thousands of gems from him, because he actually took quite a lot of gems from you. Earlier on in this video I mentioned something about a bonus character that I did like quite a bit, and that one is Sparks. You can actually play as Sparks. And he's a top-down shooter, and he rewards you with gems in his stages, of course, and there's an egg in his stages. But completing his stages actually upgrades Sparks, making him more useful in regular gameplay, which that is how these bonus characters should have been done to begin with. Also, Sparks is the one that plays the least horrible. Actually, not even the least horrible, he plays pretty fucking good. The game in general, I would say, is definitely more difficult than Ripto's Rage. That might also be because I know Ripto's Rage very well, and Year of the Dragon I have never actually played all the way through up until this point. So it might be the fact that I don't know the game quite well, or it might be the fact that it's actually more difficult. It did definitely feel more difficult. Hang on, this game was released in 2000 for the PlayStation. So that should mean there's built-in cheat codes. And there definitely is. A couple of fun ones I will discuss here with you are the color cheats. You can make Spyro black, you can make Spyro blue, you can make Spyro green, you can make Spyro pink, you can make Spyro red, you can make Spyro yellow. And that's all the colors. Nothing useful, just fun to have Spyro be a slightly different color. But the best cheat of them all, of course, is Big Head Spyro. Again, doesn't really do anything, just looks silly. And 2D Spyro, which I'm not sure if this actually changes his hitbox. If it does, that might be a very useful cheat even. You can combine both Big Head and 2D with every single color, you just can't combine 2D and Big Head together. I guess they couldn't be bothered to make a model, or I guess a sprite with a 2D big-headed Spyro, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. There's also cheats for an easy and a hard difficulty, which I tried those, and it does work. It does give you the sound effects for inputting a cheat. I just couldn't tell what the difference is between normal playing and inputting these easy and hard mode cheats. Maybe if you put them in the beginning of the game and you play through the entire game, you'll feel a difference. Maybe the AI is a little bit slower or faster, or that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just know that from the little bit of trying around that I didn't notice much of a difference. And you can also teleport into any level you want, but you can only do that once you have completed the game, making it kind of obsolete to have cheat codes for that. But something that's very useful, especially for like a content creator YouTuber side, you can play any cutscene you want using cheats. So if I were to not have recorded a cutscene, I could use cheats to replay those. Or if you just want to watch the story of the game again for whatever reason, seeing that weird romance again, there's cheats for that. So in retrospect, Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon is a good game. It's definitely a good game. It's just not as good as Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. I'm very sorry to say, but Spyro 2 is definitely the best one out of this trilogy and honestly out of the entire Spyro series so far. The stages in that game are more polished, more well developed, the atmosphere in them is way better in general, and the gameplay is exactly the same, but Spyro 2 doesn't have all these added nonsense characters, which not having those makes the game better. I know you don't have to play as them, but they're still part of the game, and to 100% a game, you still need to play as them, and they are the biggest reason I didn't feel like 100%ing the game, so that's definitely going to impact my feelings about the game.